Hi everyone, I hope you guys are all well. It's been a couple of weeks since I last posted, sorry, but I've been really busy and earlier on this week I'm on holiday at the moment because I took last half of this week off and I'm off all next week as well because on the Wednesday of this week I celebrate my birthday, turn 33. Woo! How that has happened, I don't know. Time flies when you're having fun. And I've spent Thursday and Friday in Oxford. I was there for a wedding back in September last year, and I absolutely loved the place and wanted to stay a little bit longer, but couldn't, so I booked a couple of days to spend in Oxford. I absolutely loved it. I had a really wonderful time, and I got to go to Shop of Secrets, which is a Harry Potter shop. I really liked it in there, and I got my first wand, and I couldn't believe it. But this Wednesday, I'm going to the Harry Potter studio tour for the very first time, the Warner Brothers tour, and I'm so excited. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be great. But anyway, enough about what I've been up to and what I'm doing this week. I am here to talk about the Bane Chronicles, written by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Rees, Brennan, and Maureen Johnson. And here on the front is Magnus Bane himself. This is actually the actor who plays Magnus in the film version of the Mortal Instruments City of Bones. Yes, I cannot remember live for me what his name is, which I apologise for. But that's film Magnus. So this is basically a collection of short stories that tells events in Magnus's life from around the 1600s all the way to modern day, which at the time of the stories and such being published is about 2008, 2009. So yeah, so you've got quite a span. They are in date order, apart from near the end of the book. You go from the 1960s to the modern day 2009-esque time, then to the 80s, and then back to modern time. So there is a little bit of jump there, but otherwise it's just completely through his lifespan. Now, when it comes to the way that it's written, it's quite interesting because you can tell Cassandra is working through this book with these other writers, Sarah and Maureen, but at the same time you can really feel their presence in the stories, the way in which they're written. Some of them are quite light and fluffy, some of them are very dark, and even the writing style is slightly different between them. You can see the influence of other writers coming in, which I really liked. Because even though I love Cassandra Clare's work, it was just refreshing to see somebody else's kind of perspective of Magnus and the world, and the way that they thought that Magnus would react to things and such. So I really loved that. I'm not going to do a reading, as I say, I haven't got my glasses on. I couldn't be bothered to wear my glasses this afternoon, and my glasses are upstairs anyway. So I would prefer to wear my glasses to do a reading, and also because this is... every single story is so different and written kind of slightly differently. To give you an idea of what one is, I'm actually, via reading, I'm only giving you an idea of one of them, and there's several. So, you know, I'm not very fond of doing a reading from this one. So my absolute favourites were Vampire Scones and Edmund Herondale, which is the third one. This is directly links to the Infernal Devices prequels, because what's good, I forgot to explain, is that, as I said, it spans like 1600s to about 2009. There are references and characters who pop up who are in the Mortal Instruments series and the Infernal Devices, and it also answers questions about events that both of those sets of books reference that we don't get to see. So, for example, one of them relates to when Jocelyn comes to Magnus for the first time with Clary, who is in the Mortal Instruments, and he sort of describes it a little bit in the Mortal Instrument books, but he doesn't go into depth. And then this book, one of the short stories, is that story. So it was really nice from the perspective of a fan of the books who may have wanted to see certain events and know what certain things took place, actually witness them, which is wonderful. So yeah, Vampire Scones and Edmund Herondale is from the Infernal Devices prequels. I really loved Will and Tessa's son. I really want to know more about him, and Cassandra is writing a series of books at the moment about their kids and the other kids who, who have been produced via the various couplings of the prequels. So I'm really interested to read that, and especially since after reading that short story, I want to know more about their son and their daughter as well. But their son is very prominent in this short story, and I'm very intrigued. And the whole connections with Will, Jem, and Tessa, which were always there in the Infernal Devices, but how when you put another layer of children into it, not that I'm saying that there's friction or anything, but when you do that, what then happens? Where do the boundaries lie of things that you would do, kind of thing? I'm really intrigued by that, really am. The other one I really loved was Saving Raphael Santiago, because I love Raphael, and it was so dark and gothic, yet so fascinating to read at the same time. I've got to say, Vampire Scones and Eben Harrendale, very influenced by Great Expectations, I will say that. Saving Raphael Santiago, it was very bleak, and it asked more questions from that thing of becoming a downworlder, of becoming a vampire, things that you think about, questions that you ask, and especially because of Raphael's religion, because he's a very religious person. What is he? Questioning himself, how I'm not a creature of God anymore. All of these things that he goes through is absolutely fascinating to read, actually, and it's so gothically written. It feels like it could be like some of Frankenstein. So you had a Great Expectation influence, a Frankenstein influence, and the other story that I really liked was The Last Stand of New York Institute, which very much asked questions about. This is with the circle, the band of shadow hunters that went to the dark side, as it were, who are led by Valentine, who's one of our bad guys in the Mortal Instruments series. The things that they did, and again the questions of where the boundaries lie, and Magnus gets caught up in this, and the things that he does, and things that he even questions about himself, because he's always been this kind of the warlock. He's always there to help, and he will always be there to help. But then when he has been asked where his loyalties lie, and everything, and him actually questioning things about himself, I found that fascinating as well. So these short stories are not just a way of filling in gaps. It allows us to explore Magnus's character further and this world further. It gives it an extra dimension because there's all these new characters who are popping up who we've never met before, and I just absolutely loved it. I kind of, the way that I read it is that I would take 2, sometimes 3 short stories a day and just read them, and by having them as short stories I actually helped. I use them as kind of like chapter cuts as it were, sort of throughout, so then that way I was using that, because obviously they don't, because they're short stories, they don't have chapters, and going through it like that. I really liked the fact that in the final short story is actually a collection of phone messages, and it begins with here are the phone messages of Magnus Bane after a certain event in City of Heavenly Fire, and I've said Heavenly Fire, and I think it's Lost Souls. Sorry, City of Lost Souls. I got that wrong. And as a fan of the books, as soon as I read that, I knew exactly what event it was talking about. So if you haven't read the Mortal Instrument books, you really should, in order to understand what the hell that last story means. But I think also this book is specifically being designed for those who have read the Infernal Devices and the Mortal Instruments. If you just pick this up as a complete fresh face, do not understand anything about this world, there's going to be a lot of stuff in this that you just will not understand. It will not make sense. They don't, explain things like the Nephilim, the Downworlders and everything like the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices do, because it just doesn't have the time to do it. and also, yeah, as I said, this has been designed for people who already know that information. So if you're thinking about reading this, you need to have read the Infernal Devices and the Mortal Instruments before you do so. But overall, I thought it was fun, it was smart, it was dark, it was emotional. I didn't cry, but I felt some stuff. And I loved also that you could see his progression as a person, as a warlock, and also when he meets Alec and going out on the first day with Alec, it's a bit bumbly and a bit awkward and confusing and such, but it's going to be something amazing. If you've read them all instruments, you know that. So I love that how something unexpected turns up. He's usually the person who can handle all that kind of thing, and then this one unexpected thing, he doesn't know how to handle it. And it turns out to be something amazing. So yeah, so Magnus learned some things as well. So yeah, overall, I would definitely read it again. I really enjoyed it, but you need to know the other books that she's written in order to read this. I would definitely read it again, yeah. And I would recommend for fans of Cassandra Clare's world. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Bane Chronicles. Now, I've already announced what my next book's going to be, which is also Cassandra Clare's short story collection called Tales of the Shadow Hunter Academy. But that one's actually pretty interesting because in the end of the last Mortal Instrument book, Simon began his training to be a shadow hunter. So this collection of short stories that he is learning as about the shadow hunter kind of world and everything and what they do, but it also follows his story of becoming a shadow hunter. So it's kind of, it's a novel within a collection of short stories. It has a bigger structure, as it were, than what this is. And it's much thicker. So we'll see how far I get through in this week off that I have. So hopefully I'll be back in a week's time to tell you what I thought, else it might be a bit longer. We'll just have to see, depending how we go. But yeah, Wednesday, it's dedicated to Harry Potter studio tours, and I'm so excited. But anyway, if you read this book, I'd love to know what you think. You can give me a comment in the comments box below, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, entirely up to you, I'll let you decide. And I'll be back as soon as I've finished Tales of Shadowhunter Academy. Alright guys, bye!